An African Affairs analyst, Ibrahim Anoba, joins me from Baltimore via Skype to discuss this. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure.
So let's look at this further. Algeria and Morocco they've had very complex relations for a really long time, all because of the issues in Western Sahara, which a group asking for cessation from Western Sahara, and Morocco has accused Algeria of backing that group. And Algeria is, since Morocco and Israel mended ties, it also seems that Algeria seems to be upset by that. So talk to us about what you make of this latest development coming from Algeria.
First of all, thank you for having me. This conflict goes really, really deeper than the recent announcement by Foreign Minister Lamamra. It's been on for decades. You have to go as far back as 1884 when Spain took charge of Western Sahara, but significantly from the independence of Morocco in 1956, when Morocco claimed that the territories of the Western Sahara were prehistorically belonged to pre-colonial Moroccan society, and as such, it has right claim or the rightful claim to own some part of Western Sahara. And eventually, that territory, the Western Sahara territory, was eventually shared between Mauritania and Morocco. But ever since Algeria gained independence in the 60s, it also have made some claims to certain territories that you may consider Moroccan territories. But we've seen not only an announcement as a consequence of land disputes, but also owing to what Morocco calls Algeria's support for the Polisario, which of course the Moroccan government has designated the terrorist organization, but it's simply a separatist organization for the Western Sahara people. So it goes really deeper than just the announcement we've seen.
And let's also state that Algeria is also accusing Morocco of backing the Kabylia people, asking for cessation from Algeria as well. So it looks like both groups are accusing each other of backing cessation in their countries. But this complexity in relations between both countries has made the Arab-Maghreb Union almost not operational. So how then can they facilitate regional cooperation if Algeria and Morocco are at loggerheads in court?
I mean, certainly this conflict has huge ramifications for North Africa and the Maghreb region, particularly if you consider, for instance, the current crisis in Libya, which has been going on for over a decade. The Libyan civil war is ravaging the region with surge cases of migration or internally displaced people. You look at the current situation in Tunisia, the country is going through some internal political strife as well. So the region is already volatile. And this indifference between Morocco and Algeria it's likely going to proliferate or make more chaotic the already volatile situation in the region. But also it can have some economic ramifications as well, because Algeria is an important OPEC member country, and it primarily exports its oil to Europe via Morocco. In fact, it has a pact with Morocco, and in turn, Morocco's gas-fired power plants benefit from Algerian oil as well. But that agreement expires in October 2021. And with this indifference between the two, it's going to be interesting to see what dimension that economic understanding will take. So this conflict equally has political and as well economic ramifications for not only the two countries, but for the Maghreb and North Africa region to be broad.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because one wonders who can actually facilitate, or who has influence over both countries in that region, and that it will bring a well-balanced, because you would need anyone who can hold talks between both countries would have to be a country or someone who represents a country that has a balanced approach on all issues. And one wonders what that country is. Is it going to be Egypt? Is it going to be Tunisia? Or will they have to expand further to the African Union?
So it has to be within the Arab League, or within maybe Egypt, as you rightly mentioned, or some other Arab countries. But things are pretty much delicate at this moment. If you remember, some countries, inclusive of Morocco, particularly Sudan, Morocco, UAE, Bahrain, at the end of Donald Trump's government in the US, normalized ties with Israel, which was frowned upon by the rest of the Arab world, of course, due to Israel's continued terrorization of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. So, for in that case, you will expect that the U.S. or some major U.S. ally wouldn't be welcome to mediate here. But also, the African Union isn't your go-to place for the at this moment, primarily because the African Union has admitted Israel as an observer member of its organization, which of course didn't go well with the Algerians and a lot of other North African countries. So you have the African Union not being welcomed by Algeria, the US and its major allies not being welcomed by Algeria, and of course France and Spain have some historical parts or interest to this conflict as well. So definitely the amelioration will have to come from the Arab League itself.
Complex situation indeed. We'll see how things play out. African Affairs analyst Ibrahim Anoba, thanks for talking to us.
Always my pleasure.